اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم نحمدہ ونصلی علی رسولہ الکریم وعلی عبدہ المسیح الموعود. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We continue our daily dars from the philosophy of the teachings of Islam. And if I can request Jawad Sahib to continue the Urdu reading.
السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. نحمدہ ونصلی علی رسول الکریم. یہ بات کسی پر پوشیدہ نہیں ہوگی، پوشیدہ ہوتا ہے چھپی ہوئی، کہ 40 برس سے پہلے اکثر انسان پر ظلمت کا زمانہ غالب رہتا ہے. ظلمت کہتے ہیں اندھیرے کو، کیونکہ 7-8 برس تو طفولیت میں ہی بسر ہوتے ہیں. طفولیت ہوتا ہے طفل سے، طفل چھوٹے بچے کو کہتے ہیں، یعنی بچپنا میں ہی بسر ہوتے ہیں. پھر 25-26 برس تک علمی تحصیلوں میں مشغول رہتا ہے، علمی تحصیل علم حاصل کرنے میں ضائع ہو جاتے ہیں، یا لہو و لعب میں ضائع وقت کرتا رہتا ہے. اور پھر زمانے کے بعد باعث سے شادی ہونے اور بیوی بچے ہو جانے کے یا یوں ہی تبان دنیا کی خواہشیں اس پر غلبہ کرتی ہیں، اور دنیاوی مالوں اور عزتوں کے لیے طرح طرح کی خواہشیں اور امنگیں پیدا ہوتی ہیں، اور لذتوں کے پورا کرنے کے لیے خیال افراد تک پہنچ جاتا ہے. اور اگر خدا تعالیٰ کی طرف رجوع بھی کرے تو دنیا کی آرزوئیں کسی قدر ساتھ ہوتی ہیں. اگر دعا بھی کرے تو غالباً دنیا کے لیے بہت کرتا ہے، اور اگر روے بھی تو غالباً کچھ دنیا کے اغراض اس میں ملے ہوتے ہیں. معاد کے دن پر بہت کمزور ایمان ہوتا ہے، اور اگر ہو بھی تو مرنے میں ابھی لمبا عرصہ معلوم ہوتا ہے. جس طرح کسی نہر کا بند ٹوٹ کر ارد گرد کی زمین کو تباہ کرتا چلا جاتا ہے، اسی طرح نفسانی جذبات کا سیلاب نہایت خطرہ میں زندگی کو ڈال دیتا ہے. اس حالت میں وہ معاد کے باریک باریک امور کا کب قائل ہو سکتا ہے، بلکہ دینیات پر ہنستا اور ٹھٹھا کرتا ہے، اور اپنی خشک منطق اور بیہودہ فلسفہ کو دکھلاتا ہے. ہاں، اگر نیک فطرت ہو تو خدا کو بھی مانتا ہے، مگر دل کے صدق اور وفا سے نہیں مانتا، بلکہ صرف اپنی کامیابیوں کی شرط سے. اگر دنیا کی مرادیں مل گئیں تو خدا کا، ورنہ شیطان کا. جزاکم اللہ احسن جزا.
The promised Messiah ﷺ states that it is no secret that before he is 40, a man's life is mostly obscured by ignorance. The first 7 or 8 years of his existence. It is no secret that before he is 40, a man's life is mostly obscured by ignorance. The first 7 or 8 years of his existence are passed in infancy, and the following 25 or so years are mostly spent in the pursuit of learning or frittered away on libertine pleasures. Afterwards he is married or is otherwise beguiled into chasing wealth and honor, and exceeds all bounds in doing so. At this stage, even if man turns towards God, his quest is somewhat tainted with material desires. His prayers are mostly for worldly gains, and his cries and supplications are sullied by worldly desires. Thus, what little faith he has in the hereafter is offset by the fact that death appears only as a distant possibility. Just as when a dam bursts its banks and destroys whatever lies in its path, so does the flood of carnal passions and imperil human life. In this state, how can he ever believe in the subtleties of the hereafter? Instead, he mocks and derides religion and parades his own dry logic and sophistry. Of course, if he is good by nature, he may believe in God, but does so without full faith and sincerity, and that too is conditional upon his own success. If his desires are fulfilled, he turns to God. If not, he turns to Satan. The promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, in the dars that we have just read to you today, um, right, so we are here now. So the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam has really drawn out the lifespan of a human being, how we go through different phases in our life. So for example, he mentions that the first 7 or 8 years of our existence are passed in infancy. The following 25 or so years are mostly spent in the pursuit of learning or frittered away on libertine pleasures, meaning the first 7 8 years have gone into infancy. The next 25 or so years or more years are spent into learning and studying or chasing our own desires. Then the promised Messiah says the next stage would be that he is married, or he is busy in chasing wealth and honor, and he exceeds all bounds in doing so. This is such a perfect uh, example given by the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, that at this stage, at this stage, even if man turns towards God, his quest is somewhat tainted with material desires. And if he does pray, his prayers are mostly for worldly gains, and his cries are supplications, and supplications are solid by worldly desires. So the promised Messiah then makes a comparison. He says that just as you can see in the underlined section here, just as when a dam bursts its banks and destroys whatever lies in its path, so does the flood of carnal passions imperil human life. So the promised Messiah والسلام, is in fact drawing the lifespan of the first, or the he's making the drawing a picture really of the first 40 years of a human's life, that just like a dam bursts its banks and destroys whatever lies in its path, so the first 40 years, so does the flood of carnal passions imperil human life. So our human desires and passions they truly hold us, for the first 40 years. And we don't truly, he says here that what little faith he has in the hereafter is offset by the fact that death only appears as a distant possibility. So in the first 40 years, and even where we live now, people usually tell these are the best years of your life. I mean, these are when you're really strong, you can do whatever you want, you live once in your lifetimes. So really society tells us that these are the best days of your life. And the promised Messiah says that death appears only as a distant possibility, and the carnal passions, they truly imperil human life. He doesn't realize it then, but in fact, he is wasting his life away in the pursuit of all these passions that he might have. And in fact, the promised Messiah, this is so true about nowadays. He says that instead of believing, what he does is instead he mocks and derides religion and parades his own dry logic. And nowadays, this is so true that people have moved away from religion, and everyone tends to show their own logic that they might have, to mock and to deride religion. But instead of listening to God and turning to God, they would rather do this. And again, the promised Messiah then breaks it in the next part. He says that even if he is good by nature, he may believe in God, but does so without full faith and sincerity. He does so without full faith and sincerity. Why? Because that has to be conditional upon his own success. So if he's successful, he will say, my faith in God has increased, but still, if he's not so successful, he would not believe in God with full faith and sincerity. And his belief in God is conditional upon his own success. The next part is something which is worrying as well. He mentions that if his desires are fulfilled, he turns to God. If not, he turns to Satan. This was the dars for today, but this really is an eye-opener, and the promised Messiah ﷺ has wonderfully explained that the first 40 years of our life are really spent in a way where very little do we think that Allah Ta'ala exists, or we spend time in search of God, in the pursuit of learning about, and obtaining the closeness to Allah the Almighty. Instead, we spend it in the pursuit, as the promised Messiah ﷺ mentioned, of our own passions, whatever they might be. So this was the the dars for today. I hope you learned something, as I'm sure I, for one, am definitely learning from the daily dars that we're carrying out today. It seems that the words of the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam, if we truly look into them and hear them, they can have a truly great impact on our own lives. May Allah enable us to understand the words of Sayyidina Hazrat Aqdas Masih Ma'ud alayhi salatu wasalam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
वक्त था वक्त मसीहा न किसी और